money. Here at another lovely Wednesday evening right here in the heart of Wailuku Town on the beautiful island of Maui in the great state of Hawaii. And boy, oh boy, have we got a show for you tonight. Now, last week, of course, was Thanksgiving. We didn't talk about much, but, or nothing at all. We talked turkey and had ourselves, I hope, a lovely Thanksgiving, which we'll get to momentarily. But this week should be very fun because this week we're going to talk about everything Ghostbusters, all about Afterlife. That's all coming up in just a few minutes. We'll be joined, I believe, shortly by Phormat as well. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Todd Bernardi. But let's get right to who is here before we do anything else. First off, this guy right here. He is the producer, seducer. He's also the man that is completely disgusted by the Netflix display of the live-action Cowboy Bebop. You just ask him. He's pissed. So, ladies and gentlemen, please say hello to the one and only Kai. How's it going, Kai?
Can you stop putting words in my mouth? Like,
hey.
You assume what I know I was going to say.
I didn't have to put words in your mouth. I didn't have to put words in your mouth at all. So, that's what you told me. Anyway. Also joining us this evening, unbelievably, he is our man in black. He is our punk rock superstar, our horror aficionado, and can sometimes be an all-around great guy. He is the guitarist for a tremendous band called The Minorities. And if I'm not mistaken, he may have some news how the Minorities and the Maui Comic-Con are going to meld and come together. That's his words. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody say hello to the Dark Knight himself. It's Gannon! How's it going, Gannon? Come in over.
Yeah.
Oh, there you are. Okay, I can hear you now. Come in over.
I am here.
Yes. How are you, sir? Haven't seen you in a while.
Me neither.
By the way, that is a great avatar. By the way, it's
pronounced Evader.
Oh, Evader. That's the kind of great gameplay that I've been experiencing on Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. So, but apparently, if I'm not mistaken,
if you love that picture, it proves that this new version, Rockstar just made everything gayer.
They did. I will say, to be fair to Rockstar, they have been releasing some console patches that have fixed a couple of things, like the rain and some of the odder bugs that have been in the game. But so it's been a little more fun to play because I put it down for a bit. But I've been playing it on the Xbox. Luckily I have Game Pass, so I get to play it for free. I really want it on my Switch, but they haven't really done anything with the Switch version yet. So I'm very excited to try that. Big shout out to Jennifer, who's in the chat right now. Aloha, Jennifer. Nice to see you. We're talking Ghostbusters, like I said, so that's coming up very, very shortly. Now, Gannon, how was your Thanksgiving? Do people like yourself celebrate that holiday?
I don't know. What does that mean?
What?
You know, punk rockers, or eccentric superhero billionaires.
We're people just like everyone else.
Oh, you are people. Okay. That's fair. I didn't know that. By the way, if you guys are listening and you hear Gannon, if he sounds a little tinny or whatever, he's live from his phone because he's out and about doing stuff, I guess. So he's not. He is not in front of the regular microphone. But don't let that.
I'm outside your house, Greg.
What's that?
Look out your window.
Oh my goodness, you are. Oh my goodness, you are. Now I'm also joined by what?
Look out your window right now.
Shut up. Anyway, we have a very fun show in store. We've got two more guests, I believe, that are coming in shortly, but we should get to the main course of the program. I'm going to actually talk about one thing first. Happening December 11th and 12th in Maui at the Maui Beach Hotel. Maui Comic-Con is back December 11th and 12th. Gannon, of course, it's very exciting for us to have Maui Comic-Con back. What's happening with you and the minorities that day? Or the day before, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember. Do you guys have something happening as well?
I think we're supposed to get together and go hiking.
Oh, we're going hiking?
Yeah, they were going to do Ia Valley.
Nice.
And then, I don't know, maybe have a picnic.
How nice of you. That sounds so sweet of you.
It's quaint.
It is very quaint. A punk rock superstar and an eccentric superhero billionaire going on a picnic. That sounds so quaint. I like that very much.
You got to stop saying billionaire.
Oh, isn't the Dark Knight a billionaire?
It's so hard keeping all these women away from me. I don't need more reasons for them to keep chasing me.
Fair enough. I'm sorry. I'll play it down. A millionaire. I'm sorry. That's what I should have said.
You have to lower the bar a little bit.
Fair enough. Now, I just want to say that Maui Comic-Con is going to be December 11th and 12th. The minorities are going to be a part of it. That they're going to be holding a very. We
are.
That's what I thought. You guys were having a little festival before it, aren't you? Like a little music fest?
We're gonna have to change our plans.
Oh man, well that's horrible.
No, we haven't been able to do a show for the last 2 years because of COVID.
Sure.
And we decided to kind of use the convention as an excuse to leech on it.
Fantastic. Well, that's good. I mean, we'd like to have some live music now. That'd be great.
It says like one guy won't be there.
That's a good point.
But yeah, we used to do Misfest, which is the Misfits tribute show, yearly, usually during Halloween. But we decided to give it a shot for this year next to Comic-Con. We were going to call it Christmas Fest, but it just didn't look right on the flyer.
Oh, like Christmas Fest, you mean? That would have been kind of cool. Oh, wow. Okay. But you decided against that.
Alika graciously allowed us to consider, or to basically use it as the official kickoff for Maui Comic-Con. So
that is fantastic. Will you be holding that?
We are day one, basically.
Wow. So you're going to be at the Maui Beach Hotel performing. That is sweet.
No. The show's going to be at Request.
Oh, cool.
Where Maui Comics and Collectibles is situated, as everyone should know.
Cool.
But yeah, the show will start there. It will be limited capacity due to county guidelines, but it still should be around the same amount of people that we would normally get for a show. So I don't want that to kind of deter people from coming.
Alika in the chat says a very merry Xmas Fest. Nothing wrong with that. I kind of agree. But ladies and gentlemen,
Why isn't he on the show?
I have no idea. If I may. He is our Man in Black. He is the master of card tricks. He is the maven of magic, and he is our gaming guru. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody say hello to Phormat. Phormat, how you doing,
Hey, everybody.
Man, so glad you could be here.
Oh, me too.
I was excited because you said your meeting didn't start till 8:30, and I was like, where is this guy?
Yeah, well,
so
you can't fool me, Greg.
That happens on Wednesdays. Like I get out at 6, so
well,
the guy that wants to start stuff at 6.
Phormat. So. Jennifer sends a howdy doody your way.
Hello.
Yeah. Well, listen. Now, as you know, yes, sir.
You can't fool me. That's clearly Taika Waititi.
No. I watched Free Guy, and Taika Waititi was much thinner. No offense, Phormat, but much thinner. I mean, they do.
Oh, am I Taika?
Yeah, you're Taika.
No, I was like, what?
Yeah, it's you. It's
you have
totally
a really
you.
weird way of saying less powerful.
But Phormat, we were just talking about before we get into our Ghostbusters reviews and things like that. Was there any information that you can share about what's coming up for Maui Comic-Con? Any new info?
make sure you eat before the show.
Because there's no food. Is that right? Well, that sucks. Well, that sucks.
No, there's going to be something. We'll figure something out. I don't know. It just, yeah. The timing of certain things just didn't quite work out, so we're trying other things to make it happen.
Well, we do know, of course, we do have some great guests there. Frank Cho is going to be part of that as well. Ed Piskor and Mr. Rugg himself will be there as well. So that's very. People? Those are people. Alika says that he said that they got Maui Comic-Con. Maui Comic-Con got the restaurant open from 11 to 2. Ooh.
Oh, okay. Cool.
That's the kind of power Alika has.
Wow. Yeah. What? He also says Ernie Reyes Jr. and HSI daughter Lotus Blossom. Not sure what exactly that means, but I think it's a good thing. So
he might be having a stroke.
He might.
From trying to put a convention together in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. Anyway, Ernie Reyes Jr. and his daughter Lotus Blossom. What? They're going to be at the con? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Oh, wow. Ernie Reyes Jr. is going to be at the con.
Someone doesn't follow the social media.
Kino himself.
I know.
Bring your pizza boxes to get signed.
Super
can we
exciting.
order pizza to the show?
That would be exciting.
And will he bring it?
That's a good question.
I don't know if he still has the jacket.
Now,
did he mention that he knows martial arts?
Yes, I think he did once or twice. That's super exciting.
We got to find the most obscure thing he's ever done to say to him and see if it annoys him.
Okay, will that be your mission? Because if that is your mission, I'm okay with it. I just want to know what it is so I can be there when you talk to him.
You know what I forgot he was in?
What's that?
The Last Dragon.
Yes, of course he's in The Last Dragon. You said obscure.
I always forget he's in that movie.
Oh wow, I'm surprised.
He's also in Red Sonja.
Yes.
That's the second one. Those are the two that I always forget that he's in because, everybody just fixates on Show Enough.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody ever talks about Red Sonja. But yeah, it's kind of funny that those are like two of the things that I always forget that he's in.
What I know about what I do know is that if I'm not mistaken, Show Enough is the master.
And by the way, Lotus Blossom, before you completely bury that, she was in that what is that? We Could Be Heroes thing on Netflix. I didn't watch it.
What is that one?
It's
Robert Rodriguez. Like I might be getting it completely wrong.
No, you're right.
So
Teeny Bopper Superheroes. Yeah.
Greg, it's actually a relief that you don't know what we're talking about because it'd be really creeped out if you were like, "Oh my God, I saw that."
I have no idea what you're talking about. That's why
that movie was amazing.
I was letting you roll with it. So make sure you guys.
He's over there waiting for the widescreen letterbox edition of
special edition. Oh, Richard in the chat says Sidekicks. It's another good one. Yeah.
Are we just throwing out titles?
We're just throwing out titles. It's cool. It's cool with me.
Just random titles now.
Yeah, Surf Ninjas from Richard. Thank you, Surf Ninjas.
Indeed. Surf Ninjas.
All right, sweet. All right, we keep going for it. Okay, give us another one. We're waiting right here. Anyway, December 11th and 12th, Maui Comic-Con, Maui Beach Hotel. What's up,
Greg?
What's up?
The rundown.
He's in the rundown.
Yeah, he beats the crap out of the Rock.
I don't remember that, but I love that movie. I can't believe I don't remember him being in it. Wow.
Do you know he's also in your favorite Indiana Jones movie?
No, he's not.
He's in Crystal Skull. Yes, he is.
He's in the Crystal Skull?
I'll bet you $1 million.
No way. Who is he in the Crystal Skull?
I'll bet you $1 million.
He's the Crystal Skull.
He's when they go into the catacombs, the first catacombs Indiana Jones goes into, he's one of the guys that they fight.
No,
I don't know if he's the guy that he blows the blowgun back into his mouth, but he's one of those guys.
I had no idea. Talk about obscure.
Like he's a character in that thing, but yeah, he's in it.
All right. To be fair, Temple of
So,
Doom is
so
my
I
favorite.
think I just figured it out. That's what I'm gonna have him sign.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. To be
Can
fair,
you sign my copy of The Crystal Skull, the worst Indiana Jones movie, and the
Whoa!
movie that you're not even a character in?
that's the second best. The first best is Temple of Doom.
I don't want to insult him because he actually is really cool, but I just think it's funny.
Yeah, well, just bring a thing of Surf Ninjas. I think he'll be happy with that, and he'll sign it for you. No problem. I'm pretty
You know,
sure.
do you think they get annoyed that it's always Surf Ninjas or Ninja Turtles 2? Like those have to be the most go-to things for that guy.
Probably. If you really want to, shut him out, you could ask him for a signature of a thing that he's not in. And be
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Hey, can you sign my copy of Hook?
That's
No.
Yeah.
No. I got it. I'll have him sign my copy of the Jonathan Brandis sidekicks.
Oh, yes. That would be sweet. Do that.
Damn.
Please, God, do that. Do that. Anyway, December 11th and 12th, Maui Beach Hotel, Maui Comic-Con. It's going to be fantastic. Check out Maui Comics and Collectibles for more details in Request Music. Check them out on social media, on Instagram at Maui Comics, and you can check them out online at MauiComicCon.com. That's MauiComicCon.com for more information.
You guys,
I already got my room.
They can.
Nice.
You should let everybody know, Greg, that they can buy tickets from me for Maui Comic-Con direct. They just got to message me through Facebook.
Okay, message Gannon through Facebook.
Yeah.
Joel,
good to know.
being insulting, have him sign a package of lumpia wrappers. He is Filipino. That is a good point.
Did you just say lumpia wrappers?
That's what Joel said in the chat.
No. The way you just said it.
Yeah, it's lumpia.
Is that the way it's pronounced? I'm not sure it is.
Yes, it is.
Well, you are the one that's Filipino.
Yeah, that's right. Or it's lumpia.
See, I thought it was always lumpia.
No. All right, relax, Mario.
So that's only if it's Italian.
Yeah. It's a me, lumpia.
I like my spaghetti.
Bippity boopity boppity. Anyway, let's get right to it, shall we? As you know, last week was Thanksgiving. I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving, but we did get to watch a movie last week.
G?
I was by myself, eating a turkey breast and vegetables, and that was my Thanksgiving. So yeah, was great. Yeah.
Easy there, Cratchit.
Yeah. I had yeah. So I was.
Can I have some more?
Yeah, it's just me, my thoughts, and my turkey and my vegetables, and I had a noose hanging in my other room.
Oh,
so
nice. That it's too high for you to reach.
Yeah, it's too high. Unfortunately, my ceilings are not load bearing. So yeah, so unfortunately,
we'll have to fix that.
Yeah, we're gonna have to fix that for sure.
Oh my God, where is this going?
Anyway, as you all know, one of the biggest movies of 2021 finally did release that we've been waiting for quite some time. Ha! No, you are wrong, sir.
Was that not one of the biggest movies of 2021?
As a matter of fact, it was not.
Oh.
Yeah.
See how I'm out of the loop?
Yeah. We all went to see a film that we have been anxiously awaiting for, and that, of course, was Ghostbusters Afterlife. We all got to see it together, which was fantastic. With the exception of Gannon. Gannon came late.
I did not get an invite.
Actually, there was a lot of people that didn't make it.
That's true. That's a good point.
Alika.
Yeah, Gannon and Alika didn't make
it. You know who didn't make it to that Ghostbusters movie, right?
Who's that?
Harold Ramis.
Oh, wow, that's horrible. Well, listen, Gannon,
did he? Dun, dun, dun.
Gannon, since you haven't been on the show in a while, I wanted to start with you. This came out right before Thanksgiving, Ghostbusters Afterlife. We've been waiting at least a couple of years for this movie, directed by Jason Reitman, oversaw by his father, who is the creator of the director of and creator of the original Ghostbusters. After getting to see the film and kind of reflecting on it for the last couple of weeks, Gannon, what are your thoughts on Ghostbusters Afterlife?
Well, first, I'd like to say that I'm very happy that Todd is in the air right now going to Seattle instead of being here for tonight's show. Because he and I have been in an epic battle over this movie.
I've been watching it. It's true.
I would like to start off by saying that Todd absolutely hates the movie. Despite anything he says to the contrary.
It's true.
Because even the positive things that he says are actually negative things that he's saying in the very classic Bernardi way.
Yes.
It
starts out positive, but the more he goes on, it just gets worse and worse.
Yeah, it's classic Todd Bernardi, where even when he starts talking about the things he liked, you get the clear sense that he doesn't like them, and they're actually the negative things.
And he's insulting it. Yeah, it's a good point.
But he's wrong in all of his assessments.
All right.
In particular to this movie, I mean, I mean, the movie is very specifically designed to be an emotional film from start to finish. And the movie had me in the first 5 minutes. The movie is still fairly fresh, so it's kind of hard to talk about it and try to not spoil anything for anybody.
I think it's been out for a couple of weeks. I think it would be okay if we spoiled it.
But, the thing is, for me, I would feel genuinely bad that if somebody didn't see it and they were watching this right now, I kind of don't want to be the guy to tell them.
Okay.
Only because, this isn't story spoilers. It's more of an emotional thing that goes through this movie. If there's anything that Jason Reitman does do right, is he really nails the emotion. And I think the people that don't like this movie or pick apart this movie because of for whatever reasons they have, is because this movie, unlike the other two, is more of an emotional movie. It's got more in line with Steven Spielberg Amblin film than it does with the original.
Yes,
specifically the original movie. I don't think Jason Reitman wanted to make a movie like the original movies, because this movie doesn't have the edge that, especially the first one. But he doesn't nail everything. In all fairness, the stuff that I really loved was the journey that the granddaughter goes on. I loved Carrie Coon's character, although she did feel somewhat marginalized. I kind of hope to have more of her to have a journey than what she got, although it's still fairly satisfying. Yeah. Trevor, the character of Trevor, Phil Wolfhard's character, there was an element of it where it kind of felt like he doesn't really have much of a part to play in this, other than being a male character in the movie, which has been a criticism thrown on him. But yeah, it's actually true. There's really not much to him, honestly. But I mean, it's not a secret that you will get to see the original characters, and it's tied very heavily to the first film in particular, which is one of my criticisms of the movie. I kind of really do wish that there was a different villain. Which again, not trying to get into spoiler territory, I really wish there was a different villain. I think to have it so tied to the first movie, I feel like in a certain way kind of hurt it in a little bit. It would have been nice to have seen a new villain, especially since we're getting an all these years later kind of a movie, and we're really just kind of hitting the same, like the greatest hits kind of a thing. It was very much a movie like Force Awakens, only this movie captured what Force Awakens was trying to do better. In my opinion, anyway.
Right. So, I mean, I think I think the villain portion is actually a valid point after thinking about it for a couple weeks. I do understand that. I guess it doesn't
hurt. It doesn't hurt the movie to me. Yeah. It's just, if we never had another movie since part 2,
right,
it just would have been kind of nice to at least to have seen, and maybe not even necessarily a new villain, but a villain that's tied into the mythology of the previous villains.
Right.
Which again is, I don't want to spoil anything, but you do get to see some things that are fairly familiar to you, even in the sense of things that you've heard of but haven't seen. You know what I mean?
I almost chalked that up, and I'm gonna go to we'll keep going around Robin here, but I'll go to Phormat next. I'm almost gonna chalk that up to the fact that Jason Reitman Jason Reitman spent a lot of time on the Ghostbusters set as a kid in 1984. So
it's very documented. He was.
Yeah,
He's in part 2.
Oh yeah. So I think that if I'm not, I mean, I can almost, I don't want to say let it slide, but I can almost see why he would lean so heavily on that because of the memories that he has of it. Maybe I'm guessing, but I get your point though. I do understand what you mean.
I mean, it's really easy to say that this movie was designed to play on the heartstrings of nostalgia for everybody that loves this franchise. Because let's face it, it is.
Sure.
But I think Jason Reitman wanted to make this movie as a love letter to the franchise and then also specifically to the characters.
Right.
Sony wanted to make this movie, you know, they're the ones that wanted the money part of all of this. I just cannot believe that Jason Reitman was dictated solely by just making a cash grabby franchise film.
I agree.
He's never done anything like that before, so why would he start here? He's actually on record as saying he would never make a Ghostbusters 3. They asked him that, like, I think 10 years ago, back when Juno came out. You know, would you ever make a Ghostbusters 3 and follow in your dad's footsteps? And if I'm pretty sure he said it back then, he would never do it. So for him to change his mind all these years later is just, you know, because he had a story to tell and he had an idea that he wanted to, you know, he had an idea for Ghostbusters that probably would never have been done, frankly, if 2016 never happened. I don't think Sony ever would have given a chance to this type of Ghostbusters movie if the 2016 movie didn't happen.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I agree with that too. I do agree with that too.
Because the only way to win back an audience that's already turning onto your franchise is to lean back into the nostalgia of it and maybe take it on a more emotional journey than just the superficial, let's just get a cast together and make a comedy film off of Ghostbusters and barely understand anything about what made the original so great.
Yeah, and you're right. I think leaning on nostalgia can be a crutch, and I think it is in a prime example. I think Star Wars: The Force Awakens is a film that is very much nostalgia heavy, and it leans on that, and it kind of comes at the detriment of Force Awakens because I'm not a big fan of Force Awakens.
But you don't connect to anything in Force Awakens emotionally,
right? Exactly.
You really, and you should.
Right.
Like the second that Han Solo confronts Kylo Ren on that bridge, and then we can spoil this one. Han Solo gets killed on the bridge.
Whoa!
I know,
dude.
Man,
they wrote the scene wrong. What the scene should have been is they looked at each other, and before they embraced, Han Solo just shoots his son. Because Han always shoots first, as we know.
It's a good point. That's a good point.
He could have saved us the misery of the 2 other sequels.
It's true. It's true.
Because Kylo wouldn't have seen it coming. You know, maybe he could have blocked the shot. Maybe he couldn't have. He probably wouldn't have expected his dad to shoot him. As good as he was with the Force, he probably not. I mean, he was kind of a dummy too. Let's face it. He probably wouldn't have seen that shot coming.
It's true.
He's always having temper tantrums and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't believe for a second that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was the exact same thing as Luke. He's only a Sith master because no one else is around to tell him he's not.
He's not. Right.
You know, Luke walking in Jabba's palace, I'm a Jedi, and Jabba's like, the hell you ain't. I've actually met real Jedis. The only thing that makes you a Jedi is that there's nobody else around to say you're not a Jedi.
That's correct. Oh, and that slamming black cloak you're wearing. So I was like, that makes perfect sense. You know what?
I bet you found that at Ben Kenobi's hut.
Yeah, he did. But you know what's funny is that not to go off on the Star Wars tangent, but out of all 3 of those sequel trilogy, the one that I like the most is the one that everyone hates the most. The Last Jedi. It's so weird. Anyway,
but anyway, to wrap up my thoughts with Ghostbusters, though, like.
Yes, go ahead.
You know, I can approach it from both minds, where I can approach it very cynically and say, okay, well, they made this specifically to just hit the heartstrings of the fans and to get them back on board with Ghostbusters. Right. And sure, but
you wouldn't be wrong.
Based on the execution of it, it's a lot more than that, in my opinion. maybe not everybody's going to get that out of the movie, but I sure did. And I've seen it 3 times now, and it hits me the exact same way all 3 times, no matter how much time I've spent thinking about it. And, you know, again, my cynical brain does kick in this movie. I've had these arguments with Todd, and Todd thinks I'm not being sensical in my approach in looking at the movie, that I'm just purely basing it on emotion.
When I've seen your arguments with him, he doesn't think you're being objective enough, and I don't find that you're not. I find you're being objective. I just think you're looking
I can be very objective about it, but the reason why I don't get so laser focused on those things is because the emotional context of what they do with the movie, far outweighs anything I could nitpick it for. I could nitpick the hell out of the movie. But again, the reason why I'm not doing it right now is because even though it's been out for a couple of weeks now, I'm still imagining that if somebody hasn't seen it yet, I would hate to be the guy that tells you some of the stuff you see in that movie. Like, there's actually a toy at Target right now that's a massive spoiler for that movie that I was like, wow, that sucks if you haven't seen this movie.
Oh, I saw it in Target. You're right. It is a huge
I took one look at the toy shelf. I'm like, holy crap, that is a massive spoiler for that movie if you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, you're right. I saw it the other day too when I was.
I mean, maybe after some more time, I'll actually talk about what I'm trying to not talk about, because there's a lot I can say about it. But I don't know. For me, if you're a Ghostbusters, I mean,
chicken pig from Shang-Chi.
One of the things I absolutely loved about the movie that nobody really does bring into their criticisms is that having these kids be the ones that discover all the equipment and actually go on these ghost busting adventures, even though it's not a very long one. It plays into that childlike wonder of like, oh man, I wish I was a ghost. But like, you know, when we were kids and we grew up with Ghostbusters, like
100%.
We would play act in our minds like, oh man, it'd be cool if we could do this with the Ecto-1. You get to see that in this movie. You know what I mean? You get to see them. The Ecto-1 sequence, which is in the trailer, there's no spoiling that, is a great sequence.
Yeah.
It's a great sequence, and it's exactly the kind of thing you wish you had seen in the first or second film, or, you know, if there were other films after the second one before now. That kind of stuff. Them chasing down a ghost down a city street in the Ecto-1, trying to catch a ghost. You know, when we had the toys, we would do that. Like, we actually get to see that, you know, and it's one of the shining moments of the whole movie to have that sequence there. And I love that's the kids doing that, because they could have easily saved that or a moment like that for the original crew guys to do it, so you get to see them in action.
Right.
But kind of the best action is involving the kids, which I thought was. It's an unorthodox choice, because you'd want to see the older guys in action, but it's a little bit more satisfying to see the younger kids doing it.
Is this a bad thing? Because the way you started this whole thing, it sounded like a bad thing.
No.
Like, one thing to point out that not a lot of people are touching on, and then you went into this. So I'm not sure if this is a good thing or a bad thing.
No, when I say criticism, what I meant is that when people critique it, I haven't really seen anybody hone in on the childlike wonder of being a Ghostbuster.
Gotcha.
In that particular sequence. They just talk about it being an exciting scene. They don't really think about it in terms of, like, you know, when a child was thinking about, you know, being a Ghostbuster. That's kind of stuff. Like, man, if I could do that, you know what I mean? Where you get to see kids actually doing that.
It's weird that you mentioned that, because I think Jason Reitman has done something that Spielberg couldn't do if he were to direct this movie. He actually Spielberged this Ghostbusters movie, which is kind of cool. I mean, and I think you're absolutely right.
It felt very Spielberg-like, especially in the beginning.
I agree, 100%. And the childlike wonder thing is I think that's the connection that we have, because it's not necessarily the fact that this movie is perfect, like you said, but what we're given and what we feel, and that childlike innocence that we have about play acting and being a Ghostbuster, that resonated throughout the film. And I think you hit on something immensely emotional for most people that are fond of the series, or any kind of property that they like.
I knew I was in trouble with Jason Reitman with this movie, and I don't want to go too specific, but just that focus shot where he focuses on the PKE meter under the chair. Oh yeah. And then it goes off. Yeah. That got me emotional, and I was like, "Oh, I'm in trouble."
Yeah, no, you're. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Like when on the page, that probably read as a very throwaway thing or as an indicator of something.
Right.
But somehow the way he had shot it, and again, maybe it's just me, I don't know, but there's something very emotional in how he framed that moment and how that came about. And just the way he zeroed in on it, I was just like, oh, I already know what movie this is. Because when you're watching the movie or when you're watching the trailers, you're just thinking that, like, okay, so it's just going to be these kids discover the gear. They discover something from the past. We kind of already know the old guys are going to show up. We're probably, I kind of went into it thinking it was probably going to be a little bit more of a fun, nostalgic romp through the Ghostbusters mythology. And maybe when we see the guys at the end, that'll be where where it kind of gets emotional for us a little bit. I had no idea that it was going to be a little bit more of legacy and, how tragedy can link people back together again. Like there's surprisingly strong themes in the movie that, I don't know. Again, maybe it's just me that latched onto that stuff, but let me tell you, Todd sure didn't.
No, he did not at all. Speaking of that, speaking of Todd, we got to watch it with Todd Phormat, and
I'm sorry.
Now, it seemed like it almost seemed like. What did you think, Phormat? Because it's almost like we were in two different theaters when we're gonna have to have Todd on and him talk about it, but. It almost felt like.
Do we have to?
It's true. It's a good point.
I will definitely not be on that episode.
I want to give him his fair shake at critiquing it as well. But Phormat, you had very strong opinions. You wrote a great review on your Facebook page. Do you echo the same sentiments as Gannon does about this movie?
Yeah. Probably not to the extent that Gannon's feeling it. That's apparent. Wasn't an emotional thing for me. Yeah, sure. I started getting choked up from the get-go when they showed the Columbia pictures.
You
and the
did.
theremin played, and I was like,
yes,
oh,
yeah, fair.
I was like, this thing started right.
I hope that was a real theremin, by the way, and not they did it all digitally now because we could.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so when you and I watched a lot of movies together, and you had a lot of interesting reactions to the films. It seems like you were rather joyous watching the movie as someone who was there, with you in the film. What exactly was it for you for Afterlife that you really latched onto?
It was seeing the natural progression of things. The fact that Egon, oh man, this is spoiler stuff.
I don't. Okay, I think
so everybody knows about crossing streams, right? Everybody knows that, right?
Yes.
The fact that Egon found a way to automate that system was like, what?
Yeah,
that's nuts.
Yeah. That's a very interesting point.
I was
too.
like, no way. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Because when you have the phone call, from jail, the phone call,
right,
and Ray starts doing this exposition dump, you're just like, what? Why would he do this?
Why would he do this? Yeah.
And then when you see the reason why he did it, you're just like, that's freaking genius.
Yeah.
That's why he's the smartest one out of them.
Right. It felt, and like you said, it felt like that. And I don't know if you felt the same way, but it almost felt like I had wished they had taken like a couple extra minutes in the movie instead of getting that huge exposition dump by Stance. Mm-hmm. I wish they had given it just a little more room to breathe. You know what I mean? Once he hung up that phone, I was like, and I think I mentioned this that night, is I really wanted to see maybe just 2 minutes, it's 60 seconds of Ray trying to convince the other two to kind of, we've got to go do this, and kind of getting them on board with it. You know what I mean? Just to kind of see.
But the thing is, you spoil the surprise of them turning up.
That is also fair. I agree. But
even though we all knew that they were going to be in there because of the the marketing, not contextually, but in the narrative of the movie, the way it's rolling out, you don't want to dole that out. You want the first time you see them to be like, oh my god, there they are.
True.
Not like building to it where they're gonna get there. It's just like, oh my god, there they are.
Yeah, that's that.
With that said,
the way they look when they appear too, they just like they're so tired and haggard. Like, all right, guys, let's do this.
You know, I mean, we're not supposed to. You know, we're supposed to suspend our disbelief, but it is a little difficult believing that 100-foot marshmallow man walking through New York City, and then the four of them walking the Statue of Liberty through New York City,
right,
was like completely forgotten in 30 years somehow.
Right.
Like if that happened in real life, we would never stop talking about it.
It's true.
You know what I mean? Like, not to compare Ghostbusters to real life tragedies or nothing, but you know, never forget.
I knew you were gonna do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
But it's legitimate though. Honestly, I'm not saying they're the same thing, but if something that massive happened in the world,
I think after 30 years, it would be more of a oh man, not this again.
Yeah,
kind of. But you know what I mean. It wouldn't be like the whole world forgot that they ever existed. You know what I mean? I know it only happened in New York City, but Stay Puft, as we find out, is still a product in the universe of Ghostbusters. Right. So, you know, you almost kind of think of like the Stay Puft company maybe would have even latched onto it for marketing down the road.
Yeah.
Now packed with even more flavor, you know, something crazy. You know what I mean? Like, it's a little bit difficult to buy into, like, they completely forgot who they were.
I can only imagine. It's on the anniversary of the Stay Puft disaster, 1984. Yeah.
Well, you know what? He didn't kill anybody.
Yeah, it's weird, though. I think
nobody died in the Stay Puft attack. That we know of, but nobody really died. So it's not a huge tragedy, but it is a huge event.
That's true. It's a good point.
Nobody would forget about that. If something like that happened in real life, nobody would forget that.
Yeah, and it's before the internet, so yeah, I think you're kind of right. That's a very interesting point.
I did love that the archival footage of the Ghostbusters showing up to stop Gozer in the first movie was just flat out footage of the movie.
Yeah, no, it was. It totally was.
Like they didn't even try to like fake the footage to look like old VHS, you know, footage like it probably would have looked like.
Yeah,
it's just flat out footage from the movie.
It's a good point. Well, listen.
Although, I'm sorry, I keep stepping all over Phormat's review. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, man. You are enjoying yourself.
You're on a roll. Go ahead, and I'll go back to Phormat.
Since I brought up footage from the original movie, I do love that poignant moment that was actually from a deleted scene from the original film that they incorporated into this one in a nice way, which again goes into spoiler territory a little bit, so I don't want to go specific, but it was a nice touch.
Yeah, I agree. Phormat, anything else that you really thought stood out and made this movie exceptional?
No, not really. I mean, Gannon's pretty much hit it on all points. I think the only problem I had with the movie really was Muncher.
You know what's funny is
no
that
Slimer, yo.
I have to give you that one because I really didn't, and maybe I missed something in the film. I didn't understand Muncher's place as far as that goes. It felt like I don't know why he even existed.
Well, do you understand why Slimer exists in Ghostbusters? He does exist.
That's fair. No. But what I'm saying is that right. But we all know that Slimer is an apparition and he's just a ghost, right? Muncher, there was something very specific about him in the movie, and that later comes into play at the climax of the film. So, but I just didn't understand. Like Muncher, he's called Muncher because he eats steel, and he eats metal.
In all fairness, what Jason Reitman should have done, and this is me armchair directing a little bit, because that town was so close to that temple, he should have played on the spooky things happen in that town, although they don't really see ghosts because they're not really breaking through the barrier yet. but
Yes.
they're still able to have an effect on the town in one way or the other. So you know that like the library sequence where like the books are moving and the cards start flipping out. Like it would have been kind of neat if he played on that kind of stuff where they were still finding ways to physically interact with that town, even though they couldn't break through and appear as apparitions just yet. So when they do, that's when we see Muncher. I wish he had done that because because then they would be coming to the town. There'd be some kind of circumstance that there being spooky things already happening, because that was kind of the premise of the first movie. Because things were kind of leaking through into our world, and they only broke through when the temple started opening up.
And I think that would have probably made me suspend my disbelief a little more with Muncher if that were the case. I agree with you on that. That does make.
I appreciate that they did something different, because he just for nostalgic reasons he could have easily just made it Slimer.
No, he could have
just to have Slimer in the movie.
Sure.
But to be honest with you, I would have hated that.
No, I would have too. I'm actually with you on that. I wouldn't have liked that either. I agree.
It would
with
have
you
been
on
nice.
that,
I mean, I did love that the Bug-Eye Ghost was there from the old toys. That was fun.
Yeah, that was very cool. Very cool too. Now, Phormat, did you, as far as performances go, was there anybody that stood out to you?
The girl.
McKenna Grace.
Yeah, McKenna Grace. Like she made the role her own. She's not a carbon copy of Egon. She's like her own person, finding herself. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought, and to echo your sentiments, I think McKenna Grace was fantastic in this movie. I linked with her emotionally, in some sense, and that was very well done. I like the fact that she was, she's a vulnerable young girl who knows that she's different from everyone else.
I wouldn't say vulnerable.
And in the fact that she's and just like her brother, though, they're very vulnerable because they're in a new situation, right? So they're not where they're used to be. So they're vulnerable.
I don't know if that's accurate either. Because she's very strong and has a very strong sense of herself. She's just being placed into this environment that she knows that she's smarter than everybody.
That's what I mean. But what I say and that's what I thought was interesting is that when I say vulnerable, I don't mean as in the fact that she's timid. What I mean is that she's trying to acclimate herself to new surroundings, number one, and number two, she's also trying to figure out how to communicate, which I thought was interesting. So I thought that was fun, and it kind of connected me to her, and where does she stand in this new kind of order that she's been thrown into
in more ways than one.
Yeah, exactly.
She's communicating with the townsfolk and also
with other things,
inhabitants of the house.
That's correct. And Phormat, what's interesting about what you said there is, what I thought was interesting is that Jason Reitman played that very well, because instead of her freaking out about it, this is why we know she's different, because she doesn't freak out about it. Mm-hmm. She actually is very accepting of it. She becomes aware of it, and she knows what's happening almost, but she's never afraid of it, which I thought was which is very bold, considering the fact, and it actually worked, because you would think that someone her age would be afraid of it.
Okay, she has a line that explains that. She says that overstimulation calms her.
Correct.
Which is very, very similar to I'm terrified beyond the capacity for rational thought.
Something Egon would say. And I really thought that was very well done. I thought that McKenna Grace did a great job. She felt like I could relate to her. It felt like, if I were to put what?
Oh no, just the thought of you thinking that you relate to a 12-year-old girl is hilarious.
But what's interesting is that I relate to her plight as being 12. You understand that,
I don't care what you meant. Just what you literally said was hilarious.
Shut up. So her emotional state, where she's at, and how basically she is she's very sure of herself, but she almost like she doesn't know her place yet, which I thought was interesting because she actually talks about that later in the film.
Her calling, so to speak.
Right. And that is what got me emotional. I mean, what got me emotional.
I think that's one of the more relatable things about the character is, there's a lot of us out there who know, you know what I mean? Like where we sit in the cycle of life or whatever,
the echelon of people, and
right. But there are times when it's not like easy to see, you know what I mean, and you know it about yourself, but when like myself being surrounded by all of these folks here, like you tend to second guess yourself, like. You got such great musical talent in the room, and you got Kai who does a number of really cool things, and then you got G who sits there. So you know what I mean? There's so many. Who
sits there relating to 12-year-old girls?
My talents are endless.
Yeah, so you know what I mean? Like, so there's a lot of times when you just kind of you don't know where you fit in. And seeing her find her place in the world, it was very relatable for sure.
Very, very emotional, and I thought that she did very well. Big shout out to Kathy. She says, "Sorry, I'm late. Don't worry. You only missed Gannon's review of Ghostbusters Afterlife."
I think overall,
yeah. So she can tune out.
I think overall, the entire cast delivered exceptional performances. The only one I was kind of meh about was Finn Wolfhard.
Gannon had the same. I think all of us, and when I go to Kai, he'll probably I don't know.
Like he was just there because it was a nostalgia thing, and he felt like things, I guess I don't know.
He felt like he was just the big brother and had no real connection. I mean,
he had more of a connection to the town than he did his own family.
Yes, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
What I did like though is that, and it didn't bang it over the head in an obvious way, is that the 4 kids were the proxies of the original guys.
Right. And
because
we did
the
fail
character
to
of
talk about
Lucky, because the character of Lucky was basically Venkman.
Right.
Finn Wolfhard's character is basically Winston.
Right.
Podcast is so clearly a Ray.
Yeah.
And then you have McKenna Grace, who's flat out Egon's granddaughter anyway. So and it's subtle. Well, maybe it's not subtle, but I mean it's not so obviously banged over your head that these are proxies to the original guys. Like they set up like almost from the get-go. He's fixing the car and he's driving the car, although he doesn't really fix the Ecto one. He has a little bit of help.
Sure.
But I really hate to say it, but it's also kind of true. Like he's Winston for this movie in the same way that Winston was Winston for the original movie.
Yeah. I mean,
like he's the 4th, and he's important to the team, but he's not very integral to the story.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though he's got a direct link to the family, he's not super integral to the story. So it does kind of honor the spirit of the character that he's the proxy for. But I don't know where I was going with that now. I totally lost my train of thought.
But that's okay, because what I was going to mention was, I don't know if it was you, Gannon, or Todd. I can't remember which one of you, but someone said they didn't like Podcast. I actually enjoyed him. I thought he was a lot of fun.
I didn't like that his name was Podcast. That's all I didn't like.
Oh, okay.
Gannon was like, I hate that kid.
I thought his character was fun. I mean, I guess there's 2 things I didn't like. One, I didn't like his name. I thought his name was it just came across as desperate 2 40-year-old guys trying to come up with a cool name for a kid. You're like, hey, what do kids like these days? Oh, they like podcasts. Let's name them Podcast. It just rang like that to me. And well, I guess it's not that I didn't like it, but it was more of a concern. Where the hell were his parents?
Good point. I agree.
Through the entire movie, where the hell were his parents? I was really concerned.
I have a feeling that his parents listen to his podcast, and they know what he does around town. So, and remember,
he was literally in jail, and they didn't come to get him.
That's a good point.
He
That's a good
You know what I'm
point.
saying?
Podcast comes from a family where his parents are always like on a trip, and they leave
Yeah.
him like money to take care of himself.
He jumped in an old hearse and drove to a farmhouse to go save the world. Where the hell were his parents? They just signed off on that? Like,
Let me tell you something. It's if I
Apparently,
may,
you're
Gannon.
not listening. They're on a trip. They're not there.
No,
So-
you guys are missing it. It's the Midwest. People trust their kids in the Midwest.
he was the
So-
only Asian kid in that town. I was worried.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. That's a good point. That's fair. I really
Think
like
about it.
podcasts.
There's probably 30 people total in that whole town that you saw. There probably were more, but he was the only Asian of that entire town.
The reason I let podcast name go was because remember we used to watch a movie as kids, and that guy's name was Data, and we had no idea what exactly Data was at our ages when we saw that movie.
That's a fair point, but I still hate it.
You can swap out the podcast for anything. Like, oh, his name is Bakugan. What?
Hey, yeah, I'm Tupperware.
Oh, my name
There
is
you go,
insert
Tupperware.
insert
What?
favorite
Tupperware?
anime character.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point.
That'd be
It's a good
perfect.
point.
See,
Now-
Ray, I thought you were gonna say I relate more to that podcast kid.
I really like podcasts. I thought he was great.
I'm also hardly needed in this story.
You bastard.
I liked him. I liked podcasts a lot because
I
he
did
reminded
too.
me so much of Ray.
Yeah. I
Just
really
know, I saw
excitable and
somebody-
just-
Somebody posted in a review that like when they jump in the car, they're automatically really good at using everything in the car, and I was like,
No, they're
he's
not.
driving a remote control car. What kid can't do that?
Yeah. And they didn't know everything about the car. They didn't know. I mean, they know how to drive it. All she had to do was pull a lever for that chair to come out. Anyway, you see it in the trailer. But
He kicks it by mistake. But if you pay attention to that sequence, they fail the first two times.
yeah.
It would have been different if she caught it immediately and threw it in the trap. They failed 3 times. Well, they failed twice trying to catch it. And Todd
That's why
loves.
they get arrested.
And then Todd loves pointing out like, oh, once she catches it in the neutrona beam, all Finn Wolfhard's character had to do was slow down the car. And I was looking at Todd, be like, have you never watched a movie before? We all know that.
yes, they do.
But
Todd.
visually speaking, if he does that, the entire sequence loses its energy
That's
on
correct.
a technical level. But then also, in the scope of the story, you're a 15-year-old boy. You're wrapped up in the moment. You're probably not even thinking about that.
Correct. Bingo. Ding,
So I
ding,
can
ding,
excuse
ding,
it on
ding.
2 levels. 1 on a filmmaking level, and 2 in a story level. You're a 15-year-old boy who just now in the middle of figuring out how to make this car work, all of a sudden now you're catching a ghost within 20 minutes.
Right. And
He's
you're
not
and you're
thinking clearly. I don't even know if
Correct.
I would.
right. Your adrenaline is pumping. I agree 100% with you, Gannon. 100%.
I'm in my 40s. I'd probably do the same damn thing. There'd be something sticking out the side of my car, catching a ghost, and be like, "Oh, did you get it? Did somebody get the trap underway?" I'd still be driving like 80 miles an hour, not even thinking about it.
That's a good point.
There'd probably be
That's a good
somebody else in the back seat, be like, "Hey, what if you just slow down because we already have it?" We're like, "Oh, that makes sense," and then I stop. But they needed a 4th person in there.
Oh man. Well, I tell you what.
I think, and
Go
I know
ahead.
they did it for toys, but I think they spent a lot of time with that remote control trap out, like a lot. It's like you guys would move a lot faster if you guys just put that thing back in the car.
Yes, and just put it on the hood. Just throw it right on the hood of the car and just drive. Yeah, I agree. 100%.
I'm not gonna lie. When I saw that in the movie, I was just like, "Oh, they're gonna make a ghost trap RC car thing, aren't they?" And then the second I had that thought, I was like, "I don't know if I can resist buying one."
Right. Good point.
Like
Good point.
if I found that at Target like tomorrow, I'd be like, "God damn it! I'm about to buy a radio controlled ghost trap." God damn it!
Damn.
It's gonna be like $400, but I'm gonna buy it anyway. Wait! Before we
What?
do Kai,
Yeah.
I've been like, this is half the reason why I wanted to be on tonight's show to talk about Ghostbusters,
Why is that?
because we just brought the car and the gunner seat. So I wanted to propose this to the NERDWatch. that existed when the original guys still had the car.
Correct.
So, if it was the original guys doing that trying to catch Muncher, who is where?
Okay, so it's interesting you bring this up because this is what I'm thinking. Okay, in my head, the person that is driving is Winston. Okay,
Yeah. That's a given.
I think that's a given. Yeah.
The person in the passenger seat is Ray. The person in the back seat is Egon, and the guy in the ejector seat is Venkman.
See, I literally looked at the movie. I was thinking to myself, like, this is exactly how the original crew would have done it. It would have been Egon on the seat.
You think Egon would be on the seat?
Because it would have been Ray on the RC car.
Okay, that's okay, fair.
And Venkman, if you really pay attention, he's the laziest of the 4 Ghostbusters. If he doesn't have to be involved, he's not doing it.
Yes.
So if we go back to what I was saying before, if we're talking about them as the proxies of the original guys, I think that's exactly how that would have gone down with the original crew.
Okay, I could see that. So Egon would be the one in the ejector seat. Interesting.
However, though, Ray is actually more of the thrill seeker. So he would probably want to be on the gunner seat. And then Egon would have been on the RC car.
Interesting. Okay.
Because just when I thought I had to figure it out, I was like, but wait a minute, Ray is more of the thrill seeker of the 4 of them. He would be the first guy to be like, I would love to, because, he gets excited about the fire pole. You know what I mean? So he's the guy that's all about what's the fun crap. He would have more fun on the gunner seat. So now I'm thinking Ray is on the gunner seat. Egon is on the RC car. Venkman's just chilling.
Well, Joel says Winston would be driving in the chat. And then Kathy said he's a flirt. I'm assuming she's talking about Venkman, is what I'm guessing. And I guess Venkman, if you think about it that way, Venkman would be in the passenger seat. That does make sense.
Well,
okay.
Pictured in the scope of how it would have happened if there was a Ghostbusters 3.
Right.
Let's say Dana decides, hey, I'm not doing anything today. I'll just jump in the car with you guys and go catch some ghosts or whatever. He's just making out with her in the back seat while they're doing their thing.
Interesting. Okay, that does make a little more sense.
They did not answer in this movie that could possibly pay off in the next one, though, if they do a second one after this. What the hell is going on with Oscar?
Yes, good point.
Some folks have been saying that they kind of are trying to write Ghostbusters 2 out of the continuity of the movies because there's not a lot of time given to Ghostbusters 2 as far as the nostalgia trip goes. But I completely disagree because Ray's Occult bookstore exists in Ghostbusters 2. You see the toaster in Egon's lab. There are nods to it, but it just doesn't lean on it because it has nothing to do with that story. But we don't ever get to find out what the hell happened to Oscar.
Maybe Oscar has taken up the mantle.
And Oscar would be like our age right now.
No, right, he would be. And Oscar, maybe he took the mantle from his mother and is also a well-distinguished cellist in the New York Philharmonic.
Did it bother you guys that the movie completely messed up continuity it actually brought up for itself?
I will say
what I mean is that Ray literally tells the girl on the phone call, which isn't really spoiler territory. Ray tells the girl on the phone, the firehouse is a Starbucks now.
Yeah.
But we find that to be way not the case later in the movie.
Yes. And
I was like, but wait, didn't he say it was a Starbucks? In this very movie, it would have been different if it was like, it was a whole other movie. He said it was a Starbucks, and then we catch up in another film or whatever, and it's not anymore, but it's literally in the exact same movie.
I think what he was trying to do, maybe he was trying to get her off the scent. You just blew Kathy's mind. What? A Starbucks? Yes, Kathy. Yes.
He says it in the well. Maybe she didn't see the movie. I hope that's not a spoiler. But anyway,
she already said she hasn't.
Oh my
she
God,
hasn't
you
seen
ruined it.
She hasn't
in the phone call between him and
all of our viewers.
Yeah, when she calls and talks to him, he says, "Oh, the firehouse is a Starbucks now." He says that, and then later on in the end of the movie, you're just like, "Wait a minute, didn't he say it was a Starbucks? If this is still Starbucks, this is the crappiest looking Starbucks I've ever seen."
If there's one guy that could get Starbucks out of there, it would be Winston and his millions and millions of dollars. Oh, spoiler.
And I did some research.
Yes.
Just a quick scanning through the real Ghostbusters, the animated series.
Yes.
And the seating for the Ecto 1 is Winston drives, Venkman sits shotgun, and Ray and Egon are in the back. But whenever they use the cannon on the roof, it's always Egon.
Egon's always using the cannon on the roof.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
there a
But that,
cannon on
again,
the roof? I don't
that's the
remember
real
that.
Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah, in the cartoon there was.
Oh, but then with the Ecto 2, it was always Ray in the Ecto 2.
I don't remember.
Shoot out
Was
the
it?
back and fly around.
Jeez, I don't remember that. That's crazy.
You guys
Yeah.
remember the cannon on the top of the car, but not the Ecto 2?
I don't remember the Ecto 2. Wait. Was that
Well,
in?
yeah, it makes sense because he's in the back with the equipment.
I still think Ray's on the gunner seat, though. In the
You're
realm of the
wrong,
movie,
so we can move on now.
Yeah, you're wrong.
I'm not sure there was a cannon on the top of the car in the cartoons. I don't remember that ever being a thing.
I'm pretty sure it was. I'm pretty sure that there was a cannon.
I know there's promotional art tied to the cartoon where Venkman was standing on the top of the car with a gun, and there was like a seat that you would attach to the toy, but I don't remember there ever being a cannon on top of the car. I'm not saying it wasn't there. I'm just saying I don't remember it.
Well, I tell you what. Getting back to the Ghostbusters Afterlife movie, Kai,
Right.
Kai, do you have any thoughts? Since we haven't gone to you yet,
Is Kai even still here? Maybe he
Kai.
fell asleep.
Kai,
No,
you watched
I-
it with us? What did you think?
I can't articulate it the way you guys can, so I'm just gonna say I liked it, and everyone should go watch it.
Good. Well, let me give
Watch
you
it with
my
your eyeballs and your ear holes.
yes. Let me give you my quick review. I said this the night of the film. I think that I loved
You
it.
hated
Let me
it.
just I
got
loved every minute of it. I
You
will
fought Todd
say
against that.
I did, and I loved every minute of it. There were problems with the movie structurally. I think that what ends up happening for me is that some of those structural story arcs can be forgiven for me because of what I was feeling in the film. I really thought that it wasn't explained. I don't think that the explanation of why Egon was directed towards the Midwest the way he was. I didn't think that they explained that.
I thought they explained pretty well, actually.
I thought. Well, what I'm saying is that it was a little convoluted because we'll get into if we talk about it, we get
A
into spoiler
movie about
territory.
Yeah,
ghosts
that's the hard
and busting
thing.
of
Correct.
ghosts.
Correct, and that's
It's
why I said,
convoluted.
and that's why I said I can forgive those things because it's a movie about ghosts. So I'm not going to cast a serious critique on a film that's trying to have fun. So, but yes, there are things that are structurally wrong with the story. But what is tremendous is McKenna Grace. She is spectacular. I think that she was the heart of this movie. I thought, just like Gannon, I thought Carrie Coon was great, except she
was
was
a lot
little,
of fun in that movie. She really was.
She does get a bit marginalized, but I think what makes up for it is what happens at the end of that film.
Well, the thing, I mean, for her, the movie's not about her. So,
It's
of
not.
course, she gets a little sidetracked off the map for a little bit.
Yeah.
So it is kind of a bummer. But I don't know. For me, I liked her character, so it would be nice to have seen her woven in more. But honestly, I don't know how it could have been done.
I think that the one person that we have not talked about, and I think that deserves a lot of credit,
Rick
and
Moranis.
that is Paul Rudd.
Oh,
Because
like I
Paul
said, Rick
Rudd,
Moranis.
This movie's Rick Moranis.
yeah.
Spoiler alert: he's the Rick Moranis of this movie.
What I liked about Paul Rudd is that Paul Rudd could have overplayed his hand and been Paul Rudd to the fullest. He didn't, and he knew his place in this film, and he was better for it. And so
Well,
I commend him for that. I thought
If
that
you know
was
anything about Paul Rudd, as much as he was probably like the single star, let's face it, he's the star of the movie.
Mhm.
He, in everything he's in, he's always a team player. He doesn't make it about him if there's a whole team of people involved.
He did a
When
very
you watch
good
any
job.
movie he's in, when you watch any movie he's in, if you're really paying attention to him, he could easily just try to dominate, even if he is the star of a movie, which he is, frankly, in this one, and yet he doesn't. He plays his cards, he does his job, and he gives everybody their room to shine, because he's acting with McKenna Grace, and he's the bigger star of the two of them. But you're focusing your attention is on McKenna Grace, as it should be, because narrative speaking, it's her story. But he could have easily tried to outshine her acting shop wise or comedic role wise. He could have resonated more just by his presence. But he played his part.
Yeah,
he's a team player.
He did a great job, and I have to commend him for that. And I think that he is. I think that he kind of, and dare I say this, he kind of glues everybody together with the kids and the mom, and him is kind of like the catalyst for all of them, which I thought was really nice.
He does a good job of doing that, like no matter what film he's in.
Right. And he did a very good job here, and I really appreciated what he brought to the table, and he didn't huck and I don't want to make it sound bad, but he didn't Paul Rudd this thing. You know what I mean? And that's what he did. He did a great job. And I really commend him for that.
In a weird, understated way, he's kind of the thing that helps her mom start to understand her.
Bingo. Yeah.
Because you get a sense that, like, it's not that she doesn't love her daughter, but she doesn't get her daughter.
She doesn't connect on her level.
Her daughter is on a whole other level from everybody else in the family. She doesn't get her daughter, like, how she is that way, why she is that way. She doesn't relate to her. There's not to say she doesn't love her, but that dude is attracted to I guess attracted is the wrong word, but you know what I mean? Like, he meets the daughter, he's like, holy crap, there's somebody in this town that's as smart as me, maybe even smarter than me. And he's just blown away by her. And when he has his relationship with the mom, like, she's finally seeing, like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So she's not that weird.
Right.
Or she is weird, but there is a place for her to fit into. She just has to figure it out.
Yeah, and I think.
Let me tell you. And I'm sorry, I keep interrupting everybody. Or maybe I'm not.
Go ahead.
That last moment, though, where everybody, like, the whole plan goes to hell. Everybody's lost. The bad guy looks like they're about to win, and at the very last second, she stands up to this thing by herself.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into what happens after that, but just that part alone, I was like, that is dope.
No, it is. And like you said,
even before that, when she goes and does her comedy routine, like, that takes a lot of guts to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah,
it's a great point, Phormat, because in the original, the four guys faced down the villain.
Right.
They approached it together. And, the charm of the movie is, like, they clearly didn't have much of a plan. They're just like, we're just going to go up there and figure it out along the way. She actually did have a plan. Granted, she didn't dream up the plan herself, but you're right. She literally walked in there alone, knowing full well, like, oh, I could probably die doing this.
Yeah.
But somebody's got to do it. Nobody else believes in me, so she just goes in there. But she faces it down twice. She faces the villain down twice. And the fact that she does that at the end, knowing full well she can't possibly beat it on her own, and she still does it, that's where the scientist part of her goes away.
Right.
And the hero part kicks in. The hero's journey. Like, even if the hero is probably going to lose,
right?
They go down fighting at the very least, and I love that.
She earns it. That's the cool part. Is that we've in the I hate to say this, but in the last couple of years we end up getting a bunch of Reys that just are automatically powerful 100% of the time. She earns every bit of what she gets at the end of this movie.
That's a great point, Greg, because that end moment is almost beat for beat the way it plays in Rise of Skywalker.
Right. That's the funny part, right?
It's almost beat for beat what happens in Rise of Skywalker.
Right.
But you don't really care about any of these characters.
Yep.
You don't really. I mean, you follow them for the last 3 movies, but you just kind of like, oh, whatever. She's fighting the Emperor. Whatever.
Yeah.
She's gonna beat him. Okay, fine. Oh, she beat him. Oh, she needed 2 lightsabers. That's the trick. That's what she needed.
That's
you know what I
she
mean?
needed.
Like, all she needed was 2 lightsabers. She could beat him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
If Mace Windu had 2 lightsabers, we wouldn't have had all those movies.
Bingo. McKenna Grace's character earns every bit of it at the end of the film, and that is what the hero's journey is all about, and she is fantastic in it. And I will say this, the way to kind of wrap it up, at that night I had said I gave it a 3.5 star rating. I think it's a 4-star movie, number one. Number two, what I think was and this is the biggest thing about this film, the end credit scene, not to give anything away, okay, after knowing what we know about the end credit scene. And I will say this.
Wait, which one?
Both of them. The first one in particular. I
That's
don't
not
think,
too spoilery.
Yeah, I will say this, and I don't think, and I still hold to this after 2 weeks after watching this film. If we had gotten Ghostbusters Afterlife before Ghostbusters 2016, I can guarantee you that Ghostbusters 2016 would have been received much better if we had just gotten this. And I don't think
I disagree entirely.
No, what I'm saying is, though, the way they set up Afterlife is that the way they set up at the end of Afterlife is that now we can move on from the canon of the group and we're moving on to new adventures. And I think that regardless, no, I'm not saying that Ghostbusters 2016 wasn't bad, because it's a bad movie. I am not a fan. But what I'm saying is that I think as fans, we would have enjoyed what we had gotten before, and everything coming after would have been like icing on the cake.
Here's why I disagree with you, though. They never would have made Afterlife if they didn't completely botch their first attempt at a Ghostbusters movie after 2.
That's an interesting point.
Sony never in a million years would have let Jason Reitman make exactly this kind of movie as the first Ghostbusters movie since what, 90 or 89?
89.
They never would have let this be the Ghostbusters movie to be made since 89.
Yeah.
Had Ghostbusters 2016. I mean, I love that there's people that want to support it for whatever reasons they have, but if you cannot deal with the reality that Ghostbusters 2016 is the scary movie version of Scream to Ghostbusters,
wow, that is exactly what it is.
I don't know what to tell you. I really don't know what to tell you. I don't want to argue about it, but that's exactly what that movie is. It's a cheap comedy based off of a much better classic film. And it's not even about being precious about an IP. It's just it's literally a cheap comedy film that's just using an IP to franchise. That's all it is.
And it's almost beat for beat the original Ghostbusters, which is crazy. And you're right. I've never heard that example before, but the scary movie comparison is apt. Absolutely apt. I think that is a brilliant statement, Gannon. And I think you're absolutely 100% right. So you know what? Maybe I do kind of, Which, by the way, it would have been the same no matter what that cast was. Like, let's say it wasn't an all-female cast. Let's say they'd gone with what they were talking about years ago, or it'd be like Ben Stiller and Seth Rogen and whoever insert famous actor of the time into that movie. It would have been the exact same thing. If that was the tone of the movie they were going for, they just completely misunderstood the tone of what that movie is. And it's not to say it has to be, but it's literally just a cheap comedy film using an IP as a franchise. That's all that movie is. That's crazy.
Whereas when you look at the original film, it's an actually great story with great actors that have great chemistry that actually goes somewhere with a story and sets up a mythology. You know what I mean? You could argue that the 2016 one sets up a mythology too, but it's a cheap comedy film. Let's face it. Wow. It really is. And if that's enough for people, that's great. But it's not enough for me if that's the best you can do with such a great idea.
Yeah.
Then that's not good enough for me.
I agree with you 100%. And maybe I'm giving Ghostbusters 2016 too much credit. Wow, you're right. That's almost convinced I recant my statement. I think you're right. It would not have been accepted. You're 100% right. I don't think it would have now. Thinking about it the way you have and the way you put it in that statement and comparing it to Scary Movie is crazy. And I never thought of it that way. It was amazing.
And let me be clear, I'm a huge Ghostbusters fan, always have been. In some cases, I'm almost more of a Ghostbusters fan than even Star Wars.
I am too. 100%.
So I really struggle with trying not to be precious about it, but the fact of the matter is that's exactly what the 2016 movie was. If you still liked it for what it is, then fine. That's great. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but that is what that movie is.
Yeah.
Trying to color it any differently, I don't know. It's silly to try and color it any differently. It's not an important film just because of XYZ reasons. It's a cheap comedy. It would have been the same thing if it was anything. You know what I mean? If it was, again, like I said, if they did a whole male cast again, let's say they just completely remade it with a whole bunch of new actors and that was the tone they went for. It completely misunderstood what all the things that made the original one great.
Yeah.
And here comes Jason Reitman making a Ghostbusters film that is absolutely none of those things.
Right.
It's not a cheap comedy. It's not a comedy where the comedy comes from the circumstances, which is what the first movie is. I still struggle to this day calling the original film a comedy film.
I agree.
It's actually deadly serious story. The comedy just comes from having those actors in these serious situations.
And that's the thing is that they play it serious, and that's what makes it funny.
But it feels realistic. You know what I mean?
Right, and it makes it funny. That's the whole point.
It doesn't feel like the movie is designed around a bunch of skits to bring comedy out of it. Like they wrote a story and put those actors into it to find the humor in the moments.
Yeah.
Whereas when you watch Ghostbusters 2016, you can tell they're just allowed to wing it and just making shit up as they go along, saying shit that's not funny.
Everything's a gag. You're right. Everything's
built around gags, and like the suits and the proton packs, the equipment, and all this the Ghostbusters stuff is just thrown in to be a star vehicle to these comedic actors.
That's crazy. Yeah,
I can't say the original one was made that way. I mean, you know, it's a struggle to say that Ghostbusters 1984 was made as a star vehicle for Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Harold Ramis. Harold Ramis wasn't a hot comedic star. He was more of a writer-director.
That's correct.
Well, maybe not a director then, but he was more of a writer.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think Harold Ramis was ever really comfortable with being an actor, honestly.
He wasn't originally part of the cast, to be fair.
Yeah. I mean, that's a fair statement. I think he's once again, he's more of a writer and a director. I completely agree with you. 100%.
Like once Ghostbusters 2 had come out, like what's the last thing he acted in? I can't even think of anything.
Yeah, I can't really. Well, like I said, I can't really either. I mean, the only thing other than Ghostbusters that Harold Ramis is in that I know of is two movies. Number one is one of my other favorite movies, Stripes, which I love, and the other movie
that was before, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But he's also in a movie before that where he plays kind of like the jerk, and that's Baby Boom with Diane Keaton.
Oh wow, that's a deep cut.
Yeah, deep cut. So, and I know that he's in that movie too. But ultimately, I will say this. I think that this movie has closed the canon on the guys that we love in Afterlife. I think that this is without a doubt a great movie. I think even with its flaws, I think it is fantastic. I recommend it. Richard in the chat said it's already made like $120 million, which is crazy. No one gave this movie a chance. As a matter of fact, there are a bunch of people that are hating on the movie because they like the 2016 one, and they hate the fact that this movie's making more money, which is weird. But okay, that's cool. Whatever. You like what you like.
I mean, I get that there's like social, political reasons to support 2016, even though everything about it is not really supportable. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Fair.
Like just being critical of it right now. Like I mean, back then, remember how it was when that movie came out? Like just being critical about it kind of sort of made you an anti-feminist.
Yes, yeah.
Just because you said you didn't like it, like I thought that was so ridiculous. Because me saying I don't like it has nothing to do with the fact that it's about women. That's not the thing I don't like about it.
Yeah, 100%. That's
not at all the thing I don't like about that movie.
Yeah. 100%. I completely agree with you.
Although Melissa McCarthy was extremely, extremely obnoxious in that movie.
Yeah, I think that Leslie Jones was more obnoxious, and I just could not
Actually,
wrap
I
my
like
head around
Leslie.
her.
You know what? She seemed very obnoxious in the trailers, but she actually was the only thing lending some sense of reality to the movie because
Yeah,
she was the only character that actually seemed scared by what was happening.
that's a good point.
There is a moment in the 2016 one that I actually did kind of like when she was in that room with the mannequin that kept moving around.
Oh yeah,
I
golly.
genuinely thought that was actually kind of cool. If they'd done more stuff like that in the movie, it probably would have won me over a little bit.
Wow, that's crazy, Gannon. I can't believe it. Well, listen, final thoughts before we get out of here. Phormat, before we wrap things up here, final thoughts on Afterlife, and give us a star rating, brother.
I didn't really like 2016, but I thought the equipment was cool.
That's fair. That's fair. I can get behind that. That makes sense. That makes sense. What did you think of Afterlife, sir? What are your final thoughts?
I thought it was cool, but I think the equipment wasn't as good.
As in 2016? That's fair. That's fair. On a scale of
It was great.
On a scale of 1 to 5 stars, where do you put it?
I give it 5.
5 stars. Wow,
Yeah.
crazy. That's fantastic.
I don't give out 5s much.
Yeah.
But I feel like Afterlife earns it.
Yeah. Kai, what about you? Where do you put this on your pantheon and star list?
I give this a 5 as well. I like.
Wow.
I
Wow.
I highly enjoyed it. So go watch it.
Gannon, what about you? Where do you put this? Gannon, come in over. Did we lose Gannon? I think we might have. All right. Well, then
he was going in the robot speech for a bit there.
He was? Okay, maybe that's what it
He
is.
may have finally disconnected.
I
You
will
guys
give
can't
it.
hear me, really?
No,
Oh,
there
there
you
you
are.
are.
Now we can
There
hear you.
you
Now
are.
we can hear you. Now we can hear you.
I
So what
said
do
I
you?
thought I thought it sucked.
Oh, good. Okay, then what's your
Oh,
star
man.
rating? If you thought it sucked.
You know, this sounds a little overstated, but it is true, and it's hard to say about a corporate product, which frankly, all of these things are corporate products.
Sure.
But the whole point of art is to make people feel something. That's literally the whole driving force to art. So as far as my feelings of it, I got very emotional about it. I have very strong feelings about it. So it's a perfect execution, with that being the point of the movie. But if you're going to go into it expecting a really deep story or a complicated story or a deepening of a mythology, then this movie's going to completely fail you. If that's what you want out of the movie, it's going to completely fail you. This is how the movie failed Todd, because that's what he wanted out of the movie. And that's not what he got out of the movie. So I think because he didn't get that, he may or may not have closed himself off from the rest of it.
Wow. So what do you give it?
But as far as a perfect execution of what the point of the movie was, which I completely believe is what Jason Reitman was going for, it completely nails it. People are coming out of the movie crying, that's a strong emotional reaction to a movie. You know what I mean?
It is a strong reaction to a movie called Ghostbusters.
This is the longest. I gave it 5 stars that I've ever heard.
Because I think it's important. Because I think it's important to say for a lot of people that come down on this movie, it's just like there's really no counterpoint to a lot of that. It feels like, so that's why I'm just trying to get my piece out of it.
Yeah, that's fair. So what do you give? 5 stars.
I'll
Fantastic.
give it 5. And Ghostbusters 2016, I would give that a 6.
Wow, good for you. Good for you.
But
You're not an
backwards.
anti-feminist.
Only because I want women to still like me.
I will say that I will stick to my 4-star rating just because I'm a snobby film critic. But I will say this: in my heart, if I was a kid, this would be a 5-star movie, and I'd watch it over and over again. And I can't wait to own it and watch it at home. Can we all guess
give
what?
It a 4.5.
I'll give it a 4. Can we all guess what Todd would give
Good
this
man.
film?
I hate when people give half ratings. I think
he already gave a star rating to it. I think when we talked about it, I think when we were talking about it at the bar, I think he said if he were going to give it a star rating, he would give it a 3, I think.
Such a liar.
No. I really do think he said that, but it was based only on because he loves seeing the gear and that kind of stuff. Like he said, the little kid. I shouldn't be speaking for him, but like that's the stuff that he said he liked seeing. It was like all the equipment and the gear. Like it hit his inner child to see all that stuff back in action again. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and he's probably going to do the show the next time I'm off of here. But I bet you I'm right.
Well, let's hope that since he's in where is he? Is he in Oregon? Is he doing Emerald City Comic-Con?
He's doing Emerald City. That's Seattle.
Oh, that's Seattle. Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. Well, good luck to you, Todd. 3 stars. I doubt it. I think he's giving it 2.5. I don't know, but I will give him his.
That's the thing about Todd, though, because like he starts out liking it, and then the more he talks
he talks himself out of it. Yeah, he talks himself out of it. It's so stupid. It's
like when he first came out of the theater, I swear he would have given it like a 4,
Mm-hmm.
5.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the more he kept talking about it, the more he started ripping it apart, and then my inner child was like crying inside. And
It
I
was.
like, why
it was
are you
crying.
doing this?
It's true. It's a good point. Anyway, people, it has been an absolutely wonderful, wonderful opportunity to go take your family to go see Ghostbusters Afterlife. I will say this. I want you to know that this is very much Jason Reitman did his best to pay homage to what has come before him with Ghostbusters Afterlife, but he also made this movie his own.
Homage.
It's yes, and he also made this movie his own. And he what he leaned on the most is what makes the film the strongest, and his strengths are his dramatic
Girders.
turns. And Jason Reitman is very good at that.
Girders.
Yes, he did. Oh, what happened to? Oh, he's on.
We lost
Okay.
Gannon.
We lost
Yeah,
Gannon.
he
That's
was
all right.
like bleep bloop bleep bloop.
Yeah,
and
we're
then
outta
he
here.
left.
Anyway, we are out of time, boys and girls. Go watch Ghostbusters Afterlife. I will say that. Oh, there he is. I will say this as well. Coming out this week, if you can grab it, Shang-Chi is out on 4K Blu-ray today, or I believe it was yesterday, I think. So it's out on 4K. Pick up your copy of Shang-Chi. Go support Destin
That's
Daniel
another
Cretton.
movie that Todd hates.
What?
Whoa. If you want a really good movie on hard media, you need to go get Malignant.
Oh, Malignant is out too. Malignant is fantastic. If you have not seen Malignant, you should.
Shang-Chi's
Malignant,
up there too.
Malignant and Shang-Chi are 2 great
You don't
films.
have to pick between the 2. You can get them both.
That's a good point. Check out Malignant. It is a fantastically fun horror movie that I highly, highly recommend. I absolutely loved it.
Don't let anyone tell you what that movie is about,
Correct.
or anything. Just watch that movie cold.
Correct. Do not let anybody talk to you about it. Don't let them tell.
Watch the trailer if you want to.
Yeah.
Don't ask anybody about that movie. Don't spoil the movie for yourself. Just watch it and then let me know if that's your thing.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Go in. I say go in as cold as you can, because Malignant, I went in completely cold. I don't even remember watching the trailer for it, and I was blown away at how much I loved it.
Well, it's fun because the trailer makes it just looks like another Conjuring movie.
Yeah, it does, and
you really get no sense of what that movie is actually like off the trailer at all.
Correct.
It's a whole 180 from what the trailer makes it look like.
Right, 100%. And if you can put that on your list, Malignant is out now along with Shang-Chi. Pick them up. It is very good. See it ice.
I mean, I
visit Costco before you see it, and go stand in the frozen room.
The frozen section.
I want to support Mr. Cretton, but I mean, how much money does he make off everybody buying those Blu-rays? Because I don't think he does.
Well, I'm just saying we support.
As far as Disney's concerned, he's been paid. I don't think he's making any more money off of those.
All right, that's fair. That's a good point. But let's just say that we liked it enough that we'll support him and grab his movie. Let's just say that. I think that'll be a good choice.
Is he making Shang-Chi 2 yet?
I think it's going to be called Shang-Chi's, right? That's the sequel.
Shang-Chi with like the little 2 over the top of it, you know?
Yeah. With the 2 squared Shang-Chi's. Sweet.
Oh, wait. Shang-Chi, when you take the S out, put the 2 there?
Yeah. Yes, that's what you
Twang
do.
cheese.
Twang cheese.
Twang cheese.
We're such idiots. Anyway, I want to send a big shout out to everybody that was on board tonight, to Joel and Richard and Kathy, and of course We also had, she was here earlier today. That was Jennifer as well. And even our good buddy from Doc was on as well. So big shout out to you guys. Thank
Oh
you
my
guys for
God!
joining us.
More people watch the show than are in it tonight. That's rad.
That's crazy.
Good.
I will say this: make sure you guys tune in because I've got to go because I got another Facebook podcast to do. Big Fat Nation coming up very shortly.
Your OnlyFans cam show. Just be honest.
Every night at 9 p.m. Hawaii time. Big Fat Nation is on Facebook. Check that out too. We are out of time. So
You should name yourself podcast.
I should. Out of time. So my buddy
podcasts.
Kai, the Dark Knight Gannon, the Gaming Guru.
Oh my God! I haven't been here in so long. You forgot who I am. Jesus Christ!
Certainly, always stay nerdy.
Get that twang cheese.
Aloha.
I'm hungry for cheese.